Imagine a place once known for freedom, wide skies, cheap land, and small-town honesty. That was Montana, a place where the middle class could actually live the dream, own a home, raise a family, breathe clean air. But not anymore. Today, that same Montana has turned into something else, a land where locals can't afford the houses their grandparents built, and where a quiet mountain town now costs more than Los Angeles. So how did it happen? How did the last best place become the last affordable place for almost nobody? Let's find out.
Montana used to be a land built by grit, not gold. Families came here with calloused hands and big dreams. They built barns before bathrooms, worked the land, and passed those homes down for generations. Owning property wasn't luxury, it was life. But that's where the story turns, because somewhere between the frontier spirit and the Instagram era, Montana went from heartland to hot market.
Once the pandemic hit, the secret got out. People across the country saw those snow-capped peaks and endless valleys and thought, why not move there? And with remote work suddenly normal, thousands did. Buyers from California, Texas, and Washington started bidding on homes sight unseen. They weren't just moving, they were investing. The result? Home prices exploded. Bozeman, a once modest college town, saw its median home price jump from $350,000 in 2015 to over $750,000 by 2025. That's a 115% surge, faster than Phoenix, faster than Denver. Local families who'd lived there for generations found themselves priced out overnight. A rancher's son couldn't buy land in the county his grandfather settled. A school teacher making $50,000 a year suddenly faced rent that rivaled San Francisco. And while out-of-state money flooded in, wages stayed frozen.
The same state that once offered a fresh start has quietly become one of the hardest places for the middle class to hang on. Montana didn't change overnight. America did. When the world shut down in 2020, Montana opened up. People trapped in tiny apartments looked west to wide open land, quiet streets, and mountain air that didn't come with traffic noise. And for the first time in history, they could actually live there without quitting their jobs. Zoom meetings replaced offices. Silicon Valley salaries met small-town prices. To outsiders, Montana looked like heaven, safe, spacious, and still affordable. But what looked like opportunity for newcomers became a nightmare for locals.
Because when you mix high-earning remote workers with limited housing, prices explode. A house that sold for $280,000 in 2019 suddenly went for $600,000 2 years later. Not because it got better, just because someone from Seattle could outbid everyone in town. Bozeman, Whitefish, Missoula all saw waves of incoming cash. Developers rushed to build luxury condos and short-term rentals instead of homes families could actually live in. Longtime renters were told, "Sorry, we're selling," and many had nowhere to go. The irony? Remote work was supposed to help people escape expensive cities, not turn small towns into them. Montana's charm became its curse. The postcard perfect lifestyle that drew people in started pushing the middle class out. And for locals watching outsiders buy up neighborhoods, it didn't feel like progress. It felt like displacement dressed up as opportunity.
For decades, Montana's homes were built for families, not fortunes. But when the out-of-state money started rolling in, everything changed. Cash buyers showed up with million-dollar budgets, treating local neighborhoods like investment portfolios. In towns like Bozeman, Whitefish, and Big Sky, bidding wars became the norm. Locals offering asking price were instantly outmatched by buyers waiving cash, sometimes $100,000 over list. To them, it was pocket change. To lifelong Montanans, it was the end of a dream. Property taxes followed the surge. As values skyrocketed, so did tax bills, doubling or even tripling in some counties. Retired couples who'd paid off their homes decades ago suddenly found themselves drowning in property taxes they could no longer afford.
Some had to sell the homes they built with their own hands, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. And here's the kicker. Many of those new owners aren't even living here full-time. A growing share of Montana homes are now second homes, vacation rentals, or Airbnb listings. That means fewer year-round residents, emptier schools, and small businesses struggling through slow seasons. The local grocery store that once saw familiar faces every day now serves tourists for 3 months and waits the rest of the year to survive. Montana's economy may look stronger on paper, but for the middle class, it feels hollow. Because when homes turn into assets and neighbors turn into investors, the soul of the community starts to fade.
Here's the hard truth. While Montana's home prices doubled, paychecks barely moved. For years, the state has ranked near the bottom third in the nation for wages. The average worker here earns around $54,000 a year, compared to a national average of about $65,000. And that gap matters, especially when rent or a mortgage now costs big city money. In Bozeman, the median home price sits around $750,000. For a local teacher or firefighter, that means spending over 60% of their income just to keep a roof overhead, if they can even qualify for a loan. It's not that people aren't working hard. It's that their paychecks are stuck in 2010, while everything around them jumped to 2025. Montana's economy still leans heavily on industries like agriculture, tourism, and small-scale retail. Honest work, but not high-paying work. Tech, finance, and healthcare jobs, the kind that push wages up, are still limited or clustered around a few towns.
Meanwhile, national corporations have moved in, bringing higher prices but not necessarily higher pay. The result? Even full-time workers are getting squeezed. 2 jobs just to afford rent. College graduates leaving for Denver or Seattle the moment they realize they'll earn twice as much doing the same work elsewhere. It's the quiet crisis nobody talks about, because on paper, the unemployment rate looks fine. But behind those numbers are families hanging by a thread, trying to live in the same state their parents once thrived in, and realizing the math just doesn't work anymore. Montana was never supposed to feel stressful. It was the escape, the place people went to breathe. But for the folks who've lived here their whole lives, that peace is starting to crack.
What used to be quiet mountain towns now buzz with construction noise. Traffic jams in Bozeman, something unheard of 20 years ago, are now part of the morning routine. Renters live on edge, waiting for that dreaded letter, "We're selling the property." And longtime homeowners watch their neighborhoods transform into vacation zones they can barely recognize. The pressure isn't just financial, it's emotional. Montanans are proud, self-reliant people. They don't complain easily. But when your grocery bill jumps 20%, your property tax doubles, and your kids can't afford to live down the street, that pride starts to ache.
What was once paradise now feels like pressure. Locals describe it as a slow squeeze, not a sudden collapse, but a steady tightening over time. The hardware store owner closes early because there aren't enough year-round customers. The school district can't find teachers who can afford to live nearby. And the local diner? It's hanging on by nostalgia and weekend tourists. Yes, Montana is still stunning, maybe more beautiful than ever. But beauty doesn't pay the bills. And for the middle class trying to survive here,
The dream that once drew people in is starting to push them out. For generations, Montana's middle class was its backbone. Ranchers, teachers, small business owners, carpenters, nurses. They weren't rich, but they were steady. They built the schools, fixed the roads, ran the diners, and kept the lights on. They were the reason Montana worked. But one by one, they're disappearing. Not because they stopped caring, but because the system stopped caring about them. The numbers tell the story. Between 2010 and 2025, Montana's middle-income households dropped by nearly 15%. Meanwhile, the number of high-income households nearly doubled. It's not that everyone's moving up, it's that too many are being pushed down. When a nurse earning $60,000 can't buy a starter home, when a mechanic has to drive 2 hours to afford rent, when a retired couple has to sell their family ranch just to cover medical costs, that's not progress. That's collapse dressed up as growth. And the tragedy is, most Montanans don't want to leave. They want to stay, to fight for the towns their parents built. But the math doesn't care about memories. And for many, the only option left is packing up and heading for somewhere cheaper, often hundreds of miles away from the mountains they once called home. The middle class isn't just shrinking, it's vanishing. And when the middle disappears, the foundation cracks. Because a state built by hard work can't survive if the people who do the work can no longer afford to live there. When locals leave, it's not just people that disappear, it's roots. The stories, the handshakes, the "how's your mom doing" moments all start to fade. A town can keep its buildings and still lose its soul. Across Montana, that's exactly what's happening. You see it in the empty classrooms, the shuttered hardware stores, the for sale signs that never come down. Communities that once ran on connection now run on seasonal visitors. The year-round rhythm of life, gone, replaced by peaks of tourism and long, quiet winters. When locals move out, schools merge or close. Volunteer fire departments struggle to find recruits. Church pews that used to be full on Sunday mornings now sit half empty. And when a storm hits, there are fewer neighbors around to help dig someone out. The newcomers aren't the villains. Most of them love Montana too, but they experience it differently. For them, it's an escape. For the locals, it was home. And when home turns into a destination, the things that make it special, the trust, the familiarity, the small-town heartbeat, start slipping through the cracks. Because a community isn't just where you live, it's who you live with. And when those people are gone, the mountains stay the same, but Montana feels different. Montana didn't crumble. It evolved, but not in the way many hoped. What was once a working-class haven has turned into something closer to a brand, marketed, photographed, and priced like a luxury good. Downtowns once filled with family businesses now host boutique hotels and high-end coffee shops. The diners that used to serve ranchers at dawn now cater to tourists looking for the Montana experience. And the people who built that experience? Many can't afford to live within an hour of it anymore. It's a quiet transformation, one that doesn't show up on postcards. The landscapes are still stunning, the sunsets still breathtaking, but the heartbeat beneath it all has changed. Community ties replaced by short-term rentals. Generational homes flipped for profit. The sense of belonging traded for the promise of investment potential. For those still here, life goes on, but it feels different. The town meetings have new faces. The local paper prints more real estate ads than community news. And the word affordable has lost its meaning. This is the new Montana. Prosperous on paper, pressured in reality. A place where wealth has arrived, but security has left. And for the middle class, the teachers, the tradesmen, the retirees, this isn't just a shift in prices, it's a shift in identity. Because when the meaning of home changes, everything else follows. It's easy to think Montana's story is already written, that the small towns will fade, the prices will rise, and the middle class will vanish for good. But if you know anything about Montanans, you know they don't give up that easily. Across the state, quiet movements are forming, not protests, but protections. Some towns are capping short-term rentals to keep homes for locals. Land trusts are stepping in to buy property before investors do, turning it into affordable housing for working families. And younger residents who once felt pushed out are returning, starting small businesses and rebuilding community ties one neighbor at a time. It's not a quick fix, but it's a start. Because the truth is, Montana doesn't need to be rescued. It needs to remember itself. The same spirit that carved farms from wild fields, that built schools before supermarkets, still lives in its people. They may be outnumbered by money, but not outmatched in heart. Saving Montana isn't about going back in time. It's about choosing what's worth carrying forward. And if there's any state that knows how to fight for its land, it's this one. Montana has always been more than just a place. It's a promise of freedom, of hard work, of a life where what you build is truly yours. That promise hasn't vanished. It's just harder to find. The mountains still stand. The skies are still endless. And somewhere out there, a kid is still growing up with the same dream their grandparents had: to own a small piece of land, build a home, and build a life. But whether that dream survives depends on us, on what we value, what we fight for, and whether we believe that home should belong to the people who live in it, not the ones who just buy it. Because Montana's story isn't just Montana's, it's America's. A reminder that progress means nothing if it leaves the heart behind. So if this story moved you, share it, talk about it. Because the more we understand what's being lost, the closer we get to saving what still remains.